high. An affordable home in St. Jamestown and good free public services were key to my family being able to make a start here. Since being elected a year and a half ago, I have been working towards a more affordable, caring, and safer city where everyone belongs. But we face challenges. Housing costs are sky high, and hope is dimming for young people and families. On Saturday night, I met Youssef. He and his wife and kids are crammed into a small one-bedroom apartment in Thorncliffe. The rent takes up 60% of his income. And he was looking tired. He asked me if I could comfort and control the rent in Toronto to help make his life a bit more affordable. I told Youssef, I have no power to control rent. That is up to the premier in the province. But I can help build much more affordable housing as quickly as possible. And for the first time in generations, Toronto is back in the housing business. I told him we're building more homes faster, that we have sped up housing approvals by 80%. And we are lowering the costs to build by waiving development charges and taxes for 7,000 rental homes, of which more than 20% are affordable and based on people's income. At that point, we looked at each other and said, you know what, it takes 2 to 3 years to build these homes. While we move quickly on affordable housing, we also need actions that help people today. We need to make change happen for people today. So answering Youssef's call is at the heart of the 2025 budget. This proposed budget will mean change in Torontonians' lives today. Change means libraries open 7 days a week. Transit fares frozen while TTC service increases. Thousands more kids fed meals at schools and summer camps. Pools open sooner and longer. Rent evictions prevented by taking housing off the market and more support for tenants. Traffic agents to keep Toronto moving. Emergency responders arriving sooner when you need them most. The 2025 budget continues the funds to purchase buildings now, preventing rent evictions and turning them into affordable homes forever, many of them managed and co-owned by the residents. We are investing more in shelters, the rent bank, and make sure tenants have support so people are housed and inside off the cold streets. We're deploying more inspectors to make sure apartment repairs are done quickly and properly and help prevent cruel and illegal rent evictions. And this budget will provide, as a pilot project, 500 air conditioners for low-income renters to manage the hottest days of summer. To further make Youssef's life more affordable, his kids will get good food in schools. 1 in 3 food bank user is a kid. You can't learn when you're hungry. Starting already this month, an additional 8,000 kids at 21 schools will now get mid-morning food so they can focus on learning, not the next meal. And there's more in this budget to expand the school food program to feed thousands more in September. Good food for kids means less bullying, increased attendance, and better academic performances. Starting this summer, healthy food will be provided in Camp TO. 31,000 children will enjoy the best of the summer with healthy food. Wow. And it will be a good summer. Pools, splashing pads, wading pools will have extended hours of operation. And libraries will be open 7 days a week with longer hours. With more youth hubs, free programs like video recording and editing provide a safe space to learn and to create. For families like Youssef, childcare fees will be reduced again this year. We're taking more steps to make Toronto safer. While the number of people killed and injured is the lowest in 5 years, intimate partners violence has increased, with police responding to over 15,000 incidents last year. The city has declared an epidemic and is piloting a service to help families fleeing violence land on their feet faster. We're investing in core services and frontline workers to make sure that there's safety. Whether you are taking TDC at night, a senior who needs to take an ambulance, or relying on sidewalks and road clear of snow and ice, or in need of crisis intervention, the city has to work for you. Toronto has grown by 35% in the last 10 years to 3.2 million people. And just 1 year alone, there were an extra 125,000 people coming into the city. Faster response time is critical when a Torontonian is calling for help. We are hiring 276 more paramedics, firefighters, police officers, and community crisis workers, so help is there when you need it most. Through last year's investment, police were able to respond to emergency calls faster. Now, youth gun violence is also on the rise. The budget increased investment in the city's youth violence prevention programs because young people should believe they can have a future in this city and be joining sports teams, not gangs. Because of COVID, less people were volunteering and involved in their neighborhoods. Together, we must foster a deeper and better sense of belonging. The Toronto Arts Council and business improvement areas are getting more support to pass on to artists, cultural workers, and organizers of festivals. Diversity is our strength, and it is up to all of us to build the bridges that lead to a more vibrant, caring, and empathetic city. Finally, we're working to keep Toronto moving. Waiting 20 minutes for a bus or streetcar, experiencing the subway slow zones, or being packed like sardines on shuttle buses when the subways go down isn't acceptable. People deserve better, and the TDC must be the better way. So last week, I announced we are freezing TDC fares while delivering better and faster service. And we are making the largest 10-year capital investment in transit infrastructure ever. With the help of the Provincial New Deal and Ottawa, plus the city's building fund started a decade ago, the order is going in to buy new subway cars for Line 2, finally. Desperately needed repairs will be made, reducing the backlog in TDC by half. Stations will be brighter, cleaner, and you can actually hear the speaker systems. And for drivers and transit users stuck in gridlock, we are expanding the number of traffic agents from 25 to 100. It was four when I took office. Because we know every minute saved is more time with loved ones. Getting time back, feeling safe again, knowing city service are there for you, being able to afford to stay in this city we love. Youssef and his family deserve this. All Torontonians deserve this. With this, I want to invite Budget Chief Shirley Carroll to discuss in detail the proposed 2025 budget. Thank you for your hard work, Shirley.
Thank you. And thank you, thanks to all the public service for coming. That's the physical embodiment of the budget I'm going to talk about today. And we're very proud to have you and proud to be adding them to your city services. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us to launch Budget 2025. So you've heard me say this before. Budgets are more than numbers on a page. They're a reflection of our shared priorities, ours here in City Hall and yours. A roadmap to the city we want to live in now and the city we're building for tomorrow. So in that spirit, I want to take just a minute to remind us of where we started and how we arrived here today. When I was appointed budget chief, Mayor Chow had just been elected, and our city was facing a daunting challenge, a $2 billion operating shortfall to begin with that threatened essential services and the long-term financial stability of our city. So within a few short months, we had to create a budget that addressed immediate needs and laid the groundwork for a more secure future. So we took a very bold step by directly engaging Torontonians in the process up front. For the first time in decades, residents had a meaningful opportunity to shape the budget from the very start, helping us ensure that it reflected their priorities and values. Our operating shortfall wasn't the only obstacle. There was rising inflation, labor shortages, and supply chain disruptions happening across the globe, and Toronto was no exception. In Canada's largest city, we face even more unique challenges. We're the national gateway to immigration, we're the operators of the country's largest transit system, and we're providers of the most shelter beds per capita in the entire nation. Yet, we lack the fiscal tools to fully capture the economic growth we generate for the region, for the province, and the nation, that economic growth that would help us with some of these challenges. These deep structural issues have left us meeting growing demands with increasingly limited resources. So we took an important step forward with the New Deal and a strengthened partnership between the Mayor and Premier Ford. This marked the beginning of a collaborative, whole-of-government approach to ensure the success of Toronto, the region, and the province benefit as well. But while the New Deal did provide vital support, it wasn't enough to fully close that gap, that $2 billion gap. That's why we asked Torontonians to make an extraordinary investment last year. An extraordinary investment, I want to emphasize that. That investment from ratepayers, paired with prudent financial stewardship, have allowed us to make meaningful progress. We were able to stabilize the financial foundation of the City of Toronto, so much so that we have increased our credit rating for the first time in decades, in over 20 years. This increase was recognition of our strong financial management and our adherence to that updated long-term fiscal plan that we're now on a multi-year path towards. We achieved that major milestone while protecting critical services that directly improve the lives of residents. 2024's achievements demonstrate that we can accomplish things when we work together. But they haven't eliminated the structural fiscal challenges entirely that Toronto still faces. So we must continue that multi-year path that the Chief Financial Officer will be describing to you later this morning. That's our path to financial sustainability for the City of Toronto. Toronto is still recovering from over a decade of underinvestment, which left us vulnerable to face the challenges we face today. And we now have ourselves starting with a $1.2 billion opening shortfall, an improvement, but still a challenge. This budget builds on the foundation that we laid, and it continues that journey towards fiscal sustainability. And as the Mayor has already described to you, it strengthens core services. It makes those targeted investments that we keep hearing from you are needed most. We hear that from Toronto residents and businesses daily. With the benefit of a full year of planning, this time we had that full year, and so we've conducted an even deeper review of departmental operations to identify efficiencies and savings while maintaining service levels across the board. This year alone, staff working together with the financial department have achieved $680 million in savings, reductions, along with offsets and efficiencies. And we know that more work must always be done in that regard, to be mindful of your tax dollars. That's why we'll continue that work. It goes on throughout the year. Through the year, we'll be achieving further savings wherever we find them possible. Thousands of Torontonians took part in this year's pre-budget consultation. That was a surprise to me. We thought that they wouldn't come back every year, and yet they did, stronger than ever. And their message was clear. Their priorities were affordable living in our city, safer streets, and better transit. And you've heard the mayor outline the response to that. So to achieve that balance, that strong financial foundation, while enhancing the critical services that you've told us about, staff are proposing a 5.4% property tax increase. This budget responds directly to those things you asked for. Under affordable living, there are significant investments in shelter, renter protections, new housing initiatives, but we're also expanding access to affordable childcare and recreation programs, such things as opening swimming program facilities earlier and increasing library hours, better access for families and seniors to all of those programs. In safer streets, we are enabling even faster emergency response times than we achieved in 2024 by hiring hundreds, literally hundreds of new first responders. We have approved an unprecedented multi-year hiring plan to put more police officers on our streets every year for 3 years. More traffic wardens to protect vulnerable road users and improve traffic flow. And continued investments across the Vision Zero initiative to prevent fatalities and serious injuries in our streets. And better transit, you heard a lot about in last year's TTC budget launch. Further expansion of service hours, that improves reliability and capacity. Purchasing those 55 new streetcars to keep growing the capacity to meet those needs. And we're also investing in our stations and vehicles to make them cleaner and brighter and safer. We're also making significant progress on the capital front, our state of good repair backlog. This is all work that is supported by another 1.5% increase to the city building levy, and partnership from other orders of government is so key here. But with this budget, our roadmap, our 10-year plan, Torontonians will feel the city getting better in the years to come. And I want to be clear, there is a combined increase here. The combined increase is 5.4% on the property tax increase, and the city building levy of 1.5 does represent a combined increase of 6.9% to our residents. And I do appreciate that. Over the coming weeks, the city, its residents will have lots of opportunities to dialogue. You will have lots of opportunities to learn about the budget. It moves us closer to the city we want, and you'll know more about that in the weeks to come. It makes the city those things that you keep describing to us in our pre-budget consultations: equitable, vibrant, thriving. Those are the things we hear again and again, and we are responding. So before I close, because of that extraordinary response, I want to thank the mayor for allowing us that dialogue and being such a part of it. I also want to give my deepest respect and gratitude to our financial planning division under our Chief Financial Officer, Steve Conforti. You'll be hearing from him in the Budget Committee meeting downstairs today, and his dedicated staff. And really, all of the public service, because they all work together with Steve's unit in order to develop a budget that can deliver on all of these promises. It's really brought to life, this budget, by their expertise and their commitment to laying this groundwork. For a stronger, more resilient Toronto, we're on a clear path forward, a confident path forward. This is our budget, all of our budget, and it reflects who we are and the future we hope to build together. And with that said, I'll hand it back over to Mayor Chow, because there may be questions.
Maybe questions to you too, so don't go far. Yeah. I just want to thank everyone here.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Some of our newest are on the podium today.
Yep. Officer. Yeah. Thank you. And yeah. Anyway, some of you may have some questions.
We're in time for questions, everyone.
No questions. Okay. Hey.
Mayor Chow, I guess the first question is, you spent a lot of time in this speech here talking about how unaffordable things have become. So how are the people of the city supposed to afford a 6.9% property tax hike?
Well, it's about $5.50 a week. So if you are a tenant, which is half of the city of Toronto, you will not see an increase. Because if you look at the rate of multi-res, it's only 2.7% increase. The rate reduction is 15%, so they can't pass it on to the local residents, the tenants. And for small businesses, it's a 15% rate cut also. So you will get all the technical details from our CFO. But in terms of $5.50 a week, it's, I don't know how much is coffee these days. It's not a huge amount. Some people may have problems. I want to make sure that eligible seniors know that we do exemptions or deferral of any property tax increases. So if this is a bit too much on average, then apply. Many things. There are recreation programs. There are transit projects. There are transportation projects. The capital budget is biggest ever, but what we're doing is fixing what we have. The bridges. The longer we wait to fix things, the more expensive it is, especially hard infrastructure. So we have to fix what we have. There had been other proposals that are new. That in the capital budget, for example, we had to take a deep breath and said no. Maybe you can.
Well, I'll just add to that. In a lot of cases, the efficiency was found by saying things have to be done over a multi-year approach. We introduced a wonderful culture plan this year, and that's an area where people have been hit hardest. Culture organizations have seen a shrinking of audience over time because of that global challenge. The culture plan is a strong one, and their feedback was, give it to us all right now. But that's a perfect example of, we want to make these investments, but we really do need to spread them out. We need to make them affordable for people over time. And so that's going to animate every ward in the city, but it will be done on a gradual basis. Many of the other efficiencies we're saving for the Chief Financial Officer to talk about, because we've done an important thing here. We've said, let's not just put efficiencies in the window that we know, won't fly through council, won't fly with the local community, because they're too directly impacting services. And so a lot of the efficiency and reduction work was done right staff to staff before we were even looking at a first draft. People were finding how to address inflation by making things more efficient internally and at that middle management level. And so Mr. Conforti will be outlining that a little more later on today. Yeah.
Councillor Carroll, response times seemed to be a hot topic last year, whether we're talking about police or paramedics. The investments we made last year, you said, we've seen some achievements. Can you break down the math? Where do we stand now?
Well, that's why we have the multi-year hiring plan. We know that the investment made last year had an immediate impact. We right away saw response times dropping from over 20 minutes down to 17, then 16. And so we've reduced them by 6 minutes, and that's an average response time. Remember that in dire circumstances, you're going to be there in a lot shorter than the average time. I witnessed that myself on a ride-along with police officers last week. Couldn't believe how fast we made it to a subway station that gave a call out. But we know that if we're not just replacing retirements, but actually putting new officers and more officers per capita on the ground, that response time is just going to keep going down and down and down. But the reason we're also investing in fire and paramedics is response times really is about all of the first responders. We have 4 now. We have the Toronto Community Crisis Service, police, paramedics, and fire. So between them, we need a response at the 911 center with the communications officers that's going to get whichever you need. They're at a much lower average response time, and so I think you're really going to see appreciable difference in the 2025 year as some of the investment that the mayor and the council made last year in 2024's budget really take hold, and we keep adding to it.
Councillor, what would you say to residents who are, or the mayor, what would you say to residents who are listening to this and thinking, we're making targeted investments this year. Does that mean I'm going to see any improvement at all in, parks, local, the daily improvements that were promised, Mayor Chow, when you were elected?
Definitely you're going to see some improvements in Parks and Recreation. We had a long conversation with them because they are affected by growth. You have to keep growing that service if you're building yet another neighborhood, if you're putting another building with 400 units in it on the ground. Those people need those opportunities as well to recreate, to have a quality of life. And so there is a significant investment going into parks that everyone will feel, not just the new residents, but those existing that live around them. And all of those are because these investments are really investing in your most incredible investment. For anyone, the biggest thing you'll do is buying your home. And so making this the city you want, the city you talk to us about, is protecting your investment as well as making your quality of life better. Yeah.
A question for the mayor. Following last year's property tax hike, I think some property owners in the city may have listened to your outlining of your spending priorities and wondered if there was as much concern about efficiencies in keeping the budget down and keeping this increase down. How do you think people in the city will react to a 6.9% increase following last year?
Well, our city is growing quite dramatically, 125,000 people in 1 year alone. When there are more people arriving, more people are going to call for support and help. 911, 211. That's why we have these wonderful people here supporting them, right? When your city grows, the service has to grow. If not, you call and, you wait a long time. That's not safe. And you take TTC, ICATU, like TTC workers here. We need to increase the number of services because there are more people taking public transit. We are seeing ridership grow. Yay, that's great. Less car on the road, right? Even though it's more congested. Speaking about congestion, we have to have traffic agent because they direct traffic and smooth everything out. And for the streetcar that are because of the traffic agent, it's 3 times faster. So we are seeing results. We're seeing results as people go back to using the TTC, and they call. The response time are dropping, which is people are being responded to faster. And if they have a kid in schools, they're gonna have some decent food. Very important. Library, more hours. They are so popular. When we opened on a Sunday, 61% increase of people coming in. Wow, you know why? Because they're popular. You say, why isn't it open on Sunday? It makes no sense. Of course it should be open on Sundays and evenings when I come home from work. Well, that's what we're doing. I think people are getting good value for their support. It is a city that we built together, and we want to build a city that's more affordable, more caring, safer, where everyone feels they belong. That is so important for a vibrant Toronto.
Couple more.
So this one could be for either or both of you. Mayor Chow, you just said in a previous answer that essentially like the longer we wait to fix things, the worse it is, the more expensive it gets.
Yep.
But you know, in the capital budget, we're always spending like 65 to 70% of what's allocated. Do you guys view this as a problem? Is there a plan to fix it?
You will find, when you look at the details, you'll find that the end-of-year information that's coming in, number of our divisions have raised their spending rate. We know that we can invest the capital because they are investing in building the capacity to make sure that they execute. There were times this summer when people said, whoa, maybe don't execute as well as you're executing, because there was so much going on, but it's catching up. It's being able to get things done. And so in cases where they did achieve their spending, we are increasing. We're using some of that money that comes from the provincial New Deal to make sure that they can increase and go further. Where they didn't achieve, we're asking more of them, but leaving the envelope the same. Get to where you're spending it all, we're saying, and you'll see an enhancement in the next year. So we're targeting the investment where we know they actually will execute this summer. Yeah.
Last one.
Yeah.
How much are you expecting from the provincial and federal governments to meet the proposed numbers today?
The technical brief will give you that dollar amount, but because of the New Deal, we are able to free up billions, literally, and as a result, the uploading of the Gardner and DVP. So you're seeing 500 million of it going to TDC capital budget, fixing things, right? We haven't fixed the TDC and put in a state of good repair enough. So we're finally cutting the backlog of things that needs to be fixed by a half, right? So this, with a $60 billion capital budget, it is the biggest ever, because we have to. Things are falling apart if we don't fix them. It's just going to get a lot more expensive. And there are hardly any new projects in there, right? So, and then the operating budget, of course, is a catch-up because more people are living in Toronto, which is great. We're a growing, vibrant city. So we could itemize on the housing front, for example, is $400 million for the rapid housing funds from the federal government. There's the encampment funds. There are dollars of $758 million to buy the new subway car each. 758 actually, to be precise, from the feds, and 758 from the province, all locked down, and of course 758 from the city of Toronto. So each of these elements have been built in. Of course, there's continuous investment in a lot. So building, housing, transit, all of the state of good repair. The provincial government, I don't know whether you recall, gave us a gigantic check on housing. It was a big size one because we overshot our target. We're building faster than others. So they gave us a target. We exceeded the target with the number of housing being built because we are approving them faster. We are making it cheaper to do business in Toronto for builders with the incentive. So all of that, it is a federal and provincial cooperation. As the budget chief has said, we are stronger together. And we thank the federal and the provincial government in their support, and we would like to continue to partner with both of them.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.